Welcome to Heist. I'm Bradley Hackworth, joined by Jonathan Ems, co-host and author. Now,
Thank you.
just finished 2 months ago the fourth book in the Outside World series. When is the fifth book going to be coming?
As soon as I am humanly capable, which could be any time, because I'm working on two other books at the same time right now. So
That is very fair,
Yeah.
and that is not a small undertaking.
no.
So this week we have Sword of Trust and The Borrowers. These two films could not be more different.
Oh, I know. We really polarized the whole thing right now. We have a slow, thinky piece that's all dramatic and sad and weird, and then a fast-paced, high-octane kids movie that is also weird, but in an entirely different way.
And just, I'm going to talk about this a couple times once we get into The Borrowers. What a movie for fans of Harry Potter to watch.
Oh, I know, right? Fucking, you got baby Draco there, along with
Yeah.
what's his name? His Harry's best friend, Ron
Oh,
Weasley.
yeah,
Daddy
you got,
Weasley's in it,
Yeah, Ron Weasley's dad. You got Professor Slughorn. You got Draco Malfoy.
right?
Like,
And one of the characters is literally named Potter. So even when Hugh Laurie walking in here, Hugh Laurie's not in the Harry Potter movies, but he gets the line, well, Mr. Potter. Like in
Yeah.
the freaking, like, what? That was probably my biggest laugh in the whole movie was Hugh
honestly,
Laurie.
his three appearances, I like that. I loved it so much. But
Yeah.
maybe we should talk about The Borrowers first.
All right, I'm good either way. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
set.
let's switch that up. All right, so The Borrowers.
Is this our first like straight up kids movie? I think this is the first kids movie, like full on kids movie we've done.
I think
Secondhand
it might
Lions
be.
is a family movie. I wouldn't call it a kids movie.
You know what? This is just straight up kids movie. This is British kids movie. This is
Yeah, based off of like preschool books for kids. You know, the physics of the world do not require any explanation whatsoever.
not even a little bit. And oh, come on, how could I even care? So, I guess we'll just get right into it.
All
The
right.
Borrowers, based on books written by Mary Norton, directed by Peter Hewitt, and the screenplay by Gavin Scott and John Kamps. Starring John Goodman, Jim Broadbent, Mark Williams. I mean, good God, we can go for a while. Tom
Yeah.
Felton, Bradley Pierce, Mark Williams, Celia Emrie, Celia Emrie, which I gotta say, I am not familiar with a lot of her work, but I want to be.
Which one was she?
The mom.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I remember thinking she looked familiar, and I looked her up. I remembered where I saw her in.
What?
She is in Toast of London. She's his agent in Toast of London. And
I
she
haven't seen
looks
Toast of London.
wildly different. Like, she somehow shrank over time. Because in Toast of London, she looks like half the size that she does in this movie.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird, but it's definitely her. Once you see the two pictures of like her in this movie and her in Toast of London, it's like, okay, yeah, that's her. But man, yeah, she's like so much smaller in Toast of London, and hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
No, I gotta say pretty much everybody got me to laugh in The Borrowers, but I will say the one person that absolutely floored me was Ruby Wax,
The
courthouse lady.
the courthouse. Oh right, yeah, that's what. Yeah, she was my favorite altogether. I definitely agree. Her whole bit, I was like, yep, same lady, same. I'm right there with you. She was great. She was my
I
favorite
loved her.
scene.
So getting into The Borrowers, we start off right away with our main, not even one of our main characters, really,
He turns into a side character pretty fast, actually.
which is not the way I thought the movie was going to go.
Me neither.
And by the way, I completely did not remember this movie at all. So when I was
But
watching
you
this,
did see this as a kid.
I saw it as a kid, yeah, but I clearly don't remember anything about it because as I was watching it, like the entire ride, I was all the way on board with it. I couldn't remember any of the scenes. I just knew it was about tiny people. That's all I remembered of this movie. And I'm really glad, because watching all of these for the essentially the first time was really enjoyable, and I got to have the same ride that Kelly had.
There you go.
So I really liked that. Starting off the movie with a Rube Goldberg, and just kind of tells you that this kid's an inventor, and the movie does not do anything with that in any way.
No, other than like maybe to suggest a tiny kinship, because the weird little hodgepodge things he makes his quote unquote traps out of are the same things the borrowers do for everything in their life. So other than to maybe slightly suggest that this is like something they'll have in common, but yeah, there's really no callback to it. We find out this kid's a weird kind of engineering genius, builds traps throughout the house to catch, he doesn't know what. Some things around the house are disappearing, so he wants to catch something. But then, after we've established that, we never go back to it ever. And and also not to mention the fact that like, we were way too far into the movie before it hit me that the kid and the family's their last name is Lender. Like that was kind of one of those like, oh my god, like this is
why
such
did you have to
a
do
kid's
that?
this is such a kid's book.
Yeah, I agreed with that. I thought it was personally like just that tiny detail, just something that I thought was super hilarious, not needed, anything like that. I just enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and like the mom and the dad, not like when you go to the dad's IMDb, his picture is of this movie. So he did not go like very far. This was seemingly his big break. And then
the older sister borrower doesn't even have a picture on her IMDb, and she only did like 2 other things credits after this. Yeah. Like what happened to her? She was basically the star of this movie. Where did she go?
She really was. Like I think she actually was the star of this movie. But yeah, she just, I don't know, maybe just didn't want a career in acting. But no, this was Tom Felton's very first role. I watched some behind the scenes making of, and you just see baby Draco Malfoy sitting in London like, I like hanging out with my friends and eating pizza and all this. And I'm like, dude, this kid is adorable. How did he get cast as the bad guy? Like, it was like, it's kind of a trip to see him like that, because Tom Felton is the exact same age as me. Like all of Harry Potter. Yeah, all of Harry Potter. They're all the same age as me.
Wow,
more or less, you know
I'm so old.
Dude, you are a handful of years older than like everybody that I'm talking about right now. You really want to play that card?
Okay, all right.
The effects of this, when the dad sees that the kids are in trouble up by the freezer and he goes for that run around the kitchen, that was incredible for this time.
Yeah, well, and especially like, I mean, like, I think that's one of the interesting things that you have, like, one of the primary differences, because this is essentially a British-made movie.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, and so the fact that if you have a character who, even though he is supposed to be a dad, he is essentially an Indiana Jones. He's an adventure hero. He's an acrobat. You don't cast a big, dopey-looking dude like him. You don't cast, Professor Grundle in that role. You get, some chiseled. You get basically the dad that the grown up, the lender dad. Like he's the guy that you would cast as the dad in America if you're going to have him swinging around on ropes and doing acrobats. You don't get, the most British looking dude in the world to do that.
You get Professor Slughorn. I mean,
yeah.
Which the way,
but they do that they do it in England a lot.
They do. I gotta say, the whole movie, I kind of understood and I kind of liked it, but I wasn't sure about it the entire movie. And it was the way that he said every line.
He kind of talked like this all the time. Yeah.
Yes. Everything like
it was clearly a decision, and I was half and half on it myself. It was one of those, like, half the time I'm going, why? And other half the time I'm just going, that's genius. That's brilliance right there.
Yeah, it works. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, I understood why he did it, which was why it worked. Like, it wasn't just a random decision just to make the character do something. It actually made sense. Little dude speaking to the world. Yeah. It really made sense. So I was on board with it. 2 weeks in a row. I mean, I know whenever we air this one, it's going to be a little bit different, but just 2 weeks of John Goodman.
Yes, and
That's
honestly,
delightful.
I am really. I feel like it's probably dangerous to say this, but I think this might be the best John Goodman role in The Borrowers. Because, first of all, like, and it's not like he doesn't always look like he's having fun, but
Oh,
my
he was
God, in
so
this one,
over it. I mean,
he
over the
was
top.
having the time of his life in this one. I think this is his favorite role from the way he was doing it, in my opinion,
Oh, I can
because
see
he
that.
was eating it up. He was, yeah, especially at the end. The way he was at the end, after Potter has cracked and he's just speaking in monotones with a 1,000-yard stare, like that was the funniest shit I have ever seen him do.
When he got electrocuted and as he was like just smiling and speaking through
Yeah.
it and everything like that, I was like, oh my God, dude, John Goodman doing slapstick is perfect. It is
Yes.
so great. I loved every second of it. But I'm gonna one up you, and I'm gonna keep it in the same country, weirdly, because I think John Goodman's best role was King Ralph.
Oh, see, you've mentioned that before, and I still haven't seen King Ralph. Right?
Oh, you haven't seen that?
You
right.
did. I think when we first talked about doing the show, you said King Ralph was going to be at like the top of the list of things you were going to make me watch.
Well, yeah, but you kept bringing like all the unknown movies to me, so I didn't feel like I could bring an unknown that direction until you hit me with a popular one. But no,
Okay.
like, I mean,
We'll get to
switch
it,
up.
I'm sure.
We should switch up to a different John, and we should go to a John Candy movie before we
Oh.
return to John Goodman, because I really
Oh.
feel like showing some love to John Candy.
I definitely agree. And holy shit, have I? There's a lot to cover on John Candy. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, God, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is kind of an obvious one.
It is an obvious one. I did just recently see it. I'm not 100% sure it holds up.
Really?
I was kind of disappointed in it. I would.
What about The Great Outdoors with Dan Aykroyd?
See, I'd be willing to revisit that one. I'd be willing to revisit Uncle Buck. I'd be willing to revisit Canadian Bacon, even.
Wow, I forgot all about Canadian Bacon, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, got to throw some love to John Candy. I mean, definitely lost him way too soon.
Oh, I know, right?
But I mean, that's kind of what happens when you got the chubby guys. I mean,
The chubby guys who are big on physical comedy. I mean, we
yeah,
literally
they are
2 for 2.
working it.
Yeah, between John Candy and Chris Farley. That's
Farley.
literally how we lost both of them.
Yeah, which, damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Goodman's intro into this is so delightfully despicable. How he does that so well. And the reason was like none of it was subtle. This was all like a on stage, like this was like on stage being filmed.
Yes.
And how big he was. Oh my God, I got so many good things to say about him. But this is just very kind of classic British literature. Like developers are all evil.
Yep. Well, and I thought that was an interesting way to start the movie out for a kids movie, is to start the kids out with a very specific, direct message. Children, do not trust lawyers, especially not your own.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, here is a line that I have never heard before, but it doesn't really make sense why I haven't heard it. Where there's no will, there's no way.
Yes. You know what? Here's the thing. You want to... I could probably turn this around really quick because I was even thinking about it while I was watching the movie. But this movie, it's communist propaganda.
So was Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, the borrowers climbing the kitchen magnets. Man, like just the
Physics does not apply in this movie.
doesn't have to. No.
Nope.
This movie is about fun. This is an
Yeah.
adventure. That is it.
This speaks directly to every kid who ever looked in his house and thought this would be fun if I were smaller. This would be a really great
If
obstacle
I could
course for me to
turn
run through.
myself into an action figure size and like
Right.
what I could have in the adventure, like the adventure I could have in my house. Who has not held down the toaster a little bit too long and then flung things up and everything like that is literally like that is so much fun. That's what being a kid is about, is just having that imagination. So this movie is a phenomenal movie for children.
Absolutely.
But also, man, no adult is not going to have fun with this movie.
No, yeah. Like, even
fun.
as audacious and ridiculous as it is, every dumb thing in the movie that just goes against reason is 100% forgivable because it pays off as a part of the story or as a really good joke, one way or another.
It really did. Then yeah,
nothing in it is lazy. That's the thing. There's no lazy moments in this movie.
Everything is intentional. Every single moment of this was intentional. And it had to be that way because when they were designing the models and everything like that, they were planning every single scene because they had to build all of the things around that scene. So this was, wow. Which also really, come on, let's give it up for the kids
the set designers,
movie.
The prop crafters. And this is almost a lost art, you know, when you consider how much of, like, if that movie was made today, it would have been done 100% on green screen, and all of this would have just been built in the computer. There never would have been a single real button on anything.
Nope.
But this was back in the 90s, the last bastion of real hands-on crafting for this kind of movie. And boy, even in the weird little claymation moments, in the weird little green screen moments, they all paid off great. They all
that's the thing
worked
about
together.
Using practical effects, because when you're filming that, it doesn't matter if it's built. That doesn't matter. Like, as long as it's built to scale. When you're filming, if you are filming a real thing, that is felt by the audience, which is why the original Jurassic Park will never not be the best one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
100%.
Hands down, it doesn't matter how good graphics get. It does not matter because
tactile has a value. Tactile will never not have a value.
Yes. Absolutely. The borrowers climbing the kitchen. Right. I already said that. The Clock family, that's the name of the borrowers. This family of the borrowers, they are the Clock family.
Right.
And Tom Felton, Jim Broadbent, Celia Emrie, and the daughter, the one who pretty much retired from acting like shortly after this, Flora Newbigin. Great name.
Yeah.
That would have been a great name for film and television, but I am a little bit curious what happened to her. But she was a kid when she did this, so when she got into it, just not her thing. Very understandable. Yeah. Back to the borrowers.
Right, we were talking about a movie.
At one point. So, Flora Newbigin, what I would say is the undeclared star of this movie.
Absolutely.
Her whole premise is, are we the only ones left? Which we find out that their dad was an outie later on in the movie, so you'd kind of think maybe he should have told them at some point that he has this giant community of people.
Dad is clearly not the brightest bulb in the box.
But that was a heavy thing for the 90s. You needed to have one dopey parent. Yeah. Like, you had to. It was
everything. Among the lenders, it was Dad as well. You know, they made sure that, you know, we established that, you know, there's an easy reason for Mom to think there's nothing strange about things in the house disappearing, because Dad would forget his own ass if it wasn't nailed to his back.
Correct.
Yeah.
Bradley Pierce, watching TV, which, did you recognize Bradley Pierce, the kid?
No. What have we seen him in before?
He played the brother in Jumanji.
That's the same kid?
That's the same
kid.
The little kid who turned into a monkey.
Huh, no, I didn't recognize him at all. That's crazy.
It took me a minute. But actually, no, I can't even take credit for having figured that out. I was watching the making of, and they were like, and young Bradley Pierce, which you may know from America's Jumanji. It's like, okay.
America's Jumanji. Thanks, England.
This whole thing, like, John Goodman went over to England to make this film. Like, this was in which you can absolutely tell when you see the outside shots and you have the painted, like, the ginormous painted mural to show, like, that it's that London is in the background.
Right, yeah.
Man, I loved that. I miss when they used to do that. I
Yeah.
understand why they stopped doing it, because they don't have to anymore. They can actually have real cities in the background, CG, blue screen, green screen, whatever.
Right.
But I admit, like, there's a little bit of nostalgia that's mixed in when you get scenes that in the background it's painted.
Right, yeah. The cell shaded backgrounds, yeah.
Yeah, that is something that I don't miss because we moved on.
Yeah.
But it is just something really beautiful to key in old movies.
That was something that I remember being surprised at how often it's still done. I saw a behind the scenes clip on the movie Parasite. Did you ever see that? The Korean movie?
Need to.
Interesting flick, but
Wait, you saw Parasite?
yes, I did.
That is
It took some talking. Like I had to check with a few friends to make
it won
sure.
Best Picture in like 21, right?
I don't remember if it won Best Picture. I know it was definitely nominated. I can't remember if it won or not.
Okay, but you were saying.
But yeah, I remember seeing a behind the scenes clip of it, and in the behind the scenes clip, it's like they're in the yard, they're in the rich family's yard, and there's these hedges, but then like above the hedges, they've got a bunch of blue screens set up all around. And I remember going, wait a second, why? This is not a sci-fi movie or nothing like that. Why would they need a bunch of blue screen stuff up behind the hedges? And then I later figured out the reason why is because this super wealthy people's house is supposed to be right up against the major metropolis Seoul, but it's not. They were filming somewhere else. So they needed to put blue screens up so they could superimpose the skyline of Seoul in the background. Yeah. Which is, so it's like, it's interesting how much CG we use for the most mundane things now.
This is the moment. So yeah, we were talking about Bradley Pierce, which you recognize from Jumanji with Robin Williams and Kirsten Dunst.
Right.
Then we get Flora gets busted, and the Biggin. I thought they kept calling him Biggin, not Being.
Well, they were calling him Beans, like B-E-A-N. They were even shortening. Right. Yeah. They were shortening Being into Bean.
Yeah, like that's like I thought it was Biggin, which in my mind was why Flora Newbigin got the role so easily. I was like, oh, that is cheeky. But then when it wasn't Biggin and it was Being, right. I was like, okay, well, I'm just wrong. And I really enjoyed this because I thought we were going to get kind of like an Indian in the cupboard moment where you got the big dude and the little thing and like, all this. But I really enjoyed Flora Newbigin's performance, like just how goofy and then over the top she was scared, and then like how much she flopped back and forth on that. He was a very dynamic character. Of 5 roles that she did, and her first one.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have been very interested to see where her career could have gone. But maybe we should look into see what happened to Flora Newbigin.
Yeah.
That's just a fun name to say. I'm not going to lie there. But, I mean, a lot of British names are. I mean, well, none of these ones. Broadbent is kind of a fun word.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, when we were watching, like, when we were going through this, like, he's helping them move along with them. I thought, like, this was going to be all about saving the house, which it did wind up being. But this whole sequence, I was not expecting. I didn't remember it. I wasn't expecting it. I thought that the whole thing was going to take place all inside the house. But to have the little adventure actually reach out into the big world,
right? Yeah,
that had to throw the budget way into the cosmos on that one.
They were already looking at just when they have the sets of inside the house and everything's like enlarged, which so it all had to be built by hand, obviously, and stuff like that. And so it's like they were already looking at millions of dollars even just keeping it in the house. But then you get to the truck and the milk factory and the street and all that. You're like, wow.
Yes. Oh, man, that milk factory, that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're in the moving truck, and, Bradley Pierce has them all in this, and for some reason, he sets them right next to a giant hole in the truck, Which,
why does that truck have a giant hole in the first place? You should not be renting that truck.
Right, but I mean, story's got a story.
So right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're transporting something like that, like, I mean, if you have a pet goldfish that you're taking with you in the move, you keep that one on your lap in the cab.
Which, yeah, I mean, why couldn't
He had a
just,
small
have
family.
a backpack or something like that,
Yeah.
and just like, yeah, there was like,
He had a small family with him, and he just put him in a lunchbox and shoved him in the back of the truck. Like, good luck, little people. Like,
yeah, could have just had him in a pocket. Like, it would have been just
Something,
fine. But like I said, story's got a story.
story's got a story. Yep.
Okay, fans of the Harry Potter, haters of Malfoy. You can go back and you can watch tiny little baby Malfoy drop out of a truck into a giant pile of dog poop.
There you go. Yep.
That,
although honestly, I don't think
hilarious.
I don't think there are that many Malfoy haters, because I have been seeing since like the Harry Potter movies came out, seeing interviews with the whole cast, including
Tom Felton.
And he is kind of universally revered as the sweetest human on earth. Like
He is like, you see him as this kid and you're like, oh my god, I just want to pinch his cheeks. Then you see Malfoy, and you got some moments where you actually kind of see like a decent person behind the character, but he did a good job.
He really, he was despicable. Like, we were really happy. Like, we wanted that Griffin to eat him. We were all sitting there going like, get him.
Yeah.
No, you're like,
But
fuck
then,
him up,
like,
do it.
He shows up in some other things. Like, he was a fan favorite in the Flash series.
Yep.
This I enjoy. Just gaudy Goodman showing up. All the gold rings.
Yes.
The gold lighter. Just all the gold.
Which
And
he even caps off with the final punchline, the gold-plated cell phone. I mean, my God.
Right.
That was such a simple, dumb joke that made me laugh the fuck out loud.
But, I mean, are we going to actually say what the joke was?
He's Trump, obviously.
He's Donald
yes.
Trump. He's Look at the fucking... Like, okay, you can't actually see what I have here, but look at the suit he's wearing. Blue suit, white shirt, ginormous red tie.
Yep.
Like...
No. 100%.
The obsession with gold and everything like that. No, this was Trump even back then.
Yes.
Like, I mean,
what, 1991?
No. This was 97.
97. Okay, a little bit later, but still, like, this is pre-Apprentice even.
Yeah. No, this was like that's the thing. We all knew what Trump was all the way back then, which is why the confusion on how he got into the White House has like confused so many of us, because we all knew who he was all the way back then.
Yep,
like,
I know.
That's crazy to me still. But then, like I said, we got Gotti Goodman showing up and then giving the entire exposition dump. And he's going through, checking to find the safe on the wall because...
monologuing to himself, giving away the whole game.
The entire exposition dump for little Flora to be able to hear.
Yep.
And...
which I gotta say, too, when he's using the stethoscope to break into the safe, and Flora, all the way up in the vents, says something like, what a jerk, or something like that, and the sound effect echoes it just ever so slightly, and John Goodman turns around and looks at the vent where she's at. That is the most subtly brilliant expose of the villain discovering the hero in their hiding spot. I haven't even seen anything that subtly well crafted in an adult movie, let alone a fucking kids movie. That was a stroke of goddamn genius right there.
Mm-hmm. It was good. And the whole setup and how... Well, by the way, like I said, this was based on a series of books by Mary Norton. But this movie, an entirely original story based on the characters. This was not based off of the book. It was just took the characters from the book. So none of the books. You can read the entire series. This won't interrupt anything. You will get no spoilers, nothing, anything. This is entirely on its own, which, what a way to go.
Yeah.
You can pull it off. If you can pull it off. because that is one of the major things that so many people have when you have source material, is that you don't follow the source material. But if you completely shake off everything about the source material and come up with an entirely original story with those characters, if you do it well, no complaints.
Which it makes me wonder, because I know she only got credit in the credits. It's based off of her books. It makes me wonder how much actual in-person intervention she had in the script writing, because there definitely seemed to be some genuine love and respect to the material, even though they're going off in a whole new tangent that's not covered in the books. They knew what they were working with here. Yeah, and I say that having never read the books, I could just kind of it was one of those you could tell the love was there kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh no, that was the thing, because these books were big in Britain, so this was at the time the biggest British movie that they were biggest budget, everything like that, everything. Having an army of borrowers show up at the end, the amount of money that it took to do that, though, this was a major film. This was pre-Harry Potter. This was pre-Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson hadn't got approval to start filming Lord of the Rings yet.
Right, yeah.
British actors, everything. Wait, no. British actors weren't huge in Lord of the Rings. There were quite a few American actors. You got Billy Boyd, you got...
Yeah, it was a mix.
No. Did you hear Ian McKellen fell off the stage during a performance? It was either last night or the night before, and he got rushed to the hospital.
I did not hear that.
Whoa. I haven't heard anything.
We don't want to lose him yet.
But...
That's not cool.
And the thing is, him and Patrick Stewart, they're old, man. You don't know what if it happened at any time, you can't really find that unreasonable. None of us want that to happen.
Right? Yeah, I know. I agree.
Yeah,
that was also one of those things when I heard that they were filming season 2 and 3 of Picard back to back all in a row.
Kind of. I was like, why?
Yeah, I was like, well, it's a smart move, just in case. But do they know something for sure, or is it just a smart move?
Yeah. Well, you hope. And yeah, what you said, he mentions him through the stethoscope, and. Okay. No, when you get those angry little parents, when you get the mama and papa clock that are just yelling at little Bradley and all this, I was like, hey, you're really getting put in your place by a 3-inch tall man.
Yeah, I know, and he's taking it too, and it's weird too, because it's there's this established dynamic that they are the parents and he's the child, even though they are this big, and they're talking down to him. He even when he's talking to the kid, he always has a way of talking like this, but he really emphasizes it. He talks very slowly and uses small words because you're clearly a big dumb idiot. And the kid just fucking takes it. He's just like, yes, sir. He's like, got it.
Well, it's the thing. He wasn't the movie wasn't about him. He wasn't the movie. He was the vehicle for a part of the movie. That's basically all that character was. I gotta say, watching Goodman's reaction to the will traveling across
that was gold. Yes,
just comedy gold. Just perfect. He did so little, but he carried so much in just a couple looks. And then trying to run when they swipe the will through the vent. That was great. Then we get
this is where the movie turns into a slightly, and I suppose you'd be there's probably someone who would argue with me with this, but I would say a slightly better version of Home Alone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd watch this 100 times before watching Home Alone again.
Right. But that's where we get just John Goodman getting fucked up over and over again. He's getting burned. He's getting chemical burns. He's getting electrocuted. It's the whole thing.
Oh, the way that they went about it too was just too good. So this is the moment we get another Harry Potter reference. Mark Williams, Mr. Frickin' Weasley, showing up as the exterminator. This is what kind of kicked me over, though. He knew about the borrowers.
Yeah, he looks in the hole, sees the tiny furniture, and immediately goes, "Oh, you've got borrowers."
Yeah, which his character was really inconsistent to me because he knew about borrowers, he decided to be an exterminator, he showed up to exterminate them, and then like you see like the decision over having to take him out and everything like that. It's like weighing on him. It's making him like sad and all this. But he's doing everything. Like he kicks the light on to do all this stuff. He helps Goodman.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. This is a guy who is, he's got his chosen profession. He just loves killing. That's his thing, And I think the transition becomes like you've got the kid because he starts seeing the interaction with the kid. Mm-hmm. And that's a human. That's not a pest. And so now he's getting like, oh, well, this kid, maybe now I'm not seeing him as pests anymore. Maybe now they're more pets. We shouldn't kill the pets. That's wrong.
Yeah, it was an internal journey that they didn't really explain. I can see, I agree with you because I felt the same thing.
Right.
Which maybe the fact that we both felt the same thing was just a mark of his acting, but
right, yeah. And it was a slow transition, but he got there, and it wasn't like. And I think it was interesting that there were even scenes where he kind of did a double take, where you see him he's thinking for a second, like maybe I shouldn't do this. Nah, of course it's my job, whatever. You can kind of see the slow progression of where bit by bit he gets a little closer to going, maybe I shouldn't be following this asshole around, And it's not exactly a moral decision for him as much as maybe I'll go with the winning team on this one. And
I see that.
Yeah, and it's not a sudden turnaround. We get it when he gets there. It's not an out of character moment for him as much as it is he finally got there,
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll give you that. I guarantee this got a giant laugh out of you. When they were filling up the wall with the boiling foam.
Oh yeah, the chemical foam that burns on contact. Yes.
Yeah, and then it goes right into Goodman's face, and then they pull it off, and it rips his mustache off. And then Mark Williams, you look years younger.
No, what was it? What got me? What was it he said?
But also the exterminator looks so amazed when he sees the borrowers. So I think he's seen evidence of them. He knows about them. There's the legends.
Should have written down the line. It's when he gets the thing pulled off, and he goes to look at I'm trying to remember what the exterminator says while John Goodman is looking in the mirror, and he seems to be horrified with having lost his mustache. I'm trying to remember. He said something along the lines of just like, it's like, it's best to give in. Like, just roll with it. Like some sort of like, sir, the world is cruel. Just, move on. Like, I can't remember what the line was, but I remember that was the line. I would have to go back and check, but he says something that seemed almost like a throwaway line. That's what made me laugh out loud was whatever it was he said to him when John Goodman's holding up the mirror to himself.
Okay. I'll have to.
It's trying to get him not to panic. Yeah.
Okay, this was the scene. This was something I liked. When they were chasing the kids through the wall and here,
yeah.
And then Mark Williams was taking the hammer and he was like going to him. How well that was shot was really
and the
astounding.
Editing on it to put they had a rhythm to it. Yeah, no, that was, and the tension build up as it goes by. That was a technically perfect scene in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I was very on board for that.
It would have been very easy to just make that a very mundane sequence, but no, they gave it
full adventure.
Emotion. Yeah,
it really was. And then you get Tom Felton leaping out and landing on the light, and then kind of funny to see Mr. Weasley trying to fry Draco.
Yeah.
That was a turn. That's what I was saying. If you're a Harry Potter fan, this is a movie that is weirdly really enjoyable to watch.
It's an odd little elsewhere. It's an odd little Elseworlds version of Potterverse. Yes,
it's real. It really is, and it was so much fun. But then the way they shot Goodman,
and even the kids,
he was going after the light, and he looked like a cat that was going after the light. It was so funny, man.
Yeah, well, and even too, and this is kind of one of those moments where you see where the kid moved on to become the actor that he is. You see him make, in this scene, he's hanging on to dear life on the light switch, and then the exterminator just clicks the light switch on, and you see the light switch come on, and the kid go looking at him, and then looking at the light switch, and then looking back again, just oh no, I'm in trouble. Like just for like a good double take from a comedy double take from a child. Impressive. We see now how he got where he is today.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. The measure tape rescue scene, I really enjoy, like, just the use of, I mean, holy God. Watching this before writing Ant-Man must have been a must.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
Like, the use of all the little objects and everything like that. Like, this before Ant-Man is like, this and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, probably the two best examples of what to do with small characters until you got to Ant-Man.
Right.
Because the second Ant-Man really won that competition.
While we're talking effects, one of the things about The Borrowers that truly impressed me, because this is knowing when to go digital instead of practical on this, okay? And that was the birthday candle torch. In the beginning, when she's walking through the halls, using the half-used birthday candle as a torch, okay? And the reason why is because most people, probably if I were directing this, I probably would have done it this way. You just basically make a giant plastic torch and light it on fire. They did not do that because even though you can't put your finger on exactly why,
the flame is different.
The flame is different. Size of flame matters. Its shape and behavior changes depending on how precisely big it is. And so they digitally placed a small flame on that candle. I would not have thought of going through that. They did, and it looked amazing. It sold the scene. And so that's like...
But in the same vein with using practical effects, when they go down and see the map of the world, and she takes that Crayola and actually draws with that ginormous crayon.
Right, yes.
That was practical, and it was perfect.
Exactly, yes.
Like, the way that went was absolutely amazing. I mentioned this earlier, but when John Goodman goes up and he smacks the hammer on the light and then he winds up electrocuted, perfect slapstick comedy, great delivery. I want to know if they ADR'd his lines after the fact because of how well he delivered that. And he was like, yes. That was so, like, how well he did that. That is either a tremendous skill or ADR.
Yes. And with Goodman, it is 50-50 on that one. Really, and I'll tell you what was interesting too about that. And it's interesting when you consider, a British-made kids film where they probably have maybe slightly stricter regulations on what sort of violent imagery is allowed. It occurred to me watching this, we don't actually see him get electrocuted. We see him hit the hammer on the light bulb, and just in time the kid runs away. And after
Honestly,
the whole,
I have zero idea how the MPA UK operates. Like,
it's a really
not
good question.
At all.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it's like instead of seeing him hit it, and then he's sitting there, with the sparks flying and all that sort of stuff. We don't get any of that. We get the aftermath where he's just kind of stuck in place. And it's not even exact. It's like we see the kid get rescued, and even him and his sister talking like, okay, let's get out of here now. And then they run off.
We were talking like MPA UK, and he like swung on it, and then after the fact. And I actually didn't key in on this until until a little bit potentially too late. He was still getting electrocuted.
Right, well, that's right. Yeah, no, he was locked in place. Yeah, but that's the thing is like we were getting more aftermath, and we didn't really get the violent imagery. And on top of that, even afterwards, when he did turn the light switch off and John Goodman falls over, and the hammer stays hanging there, and then for a second, and then falls off, we don't see the hammer hit John Goodman. They instead cut to the exterminator again, and you hear this bang, ow, and the exterminator going, ooh, that looks like, so it's like we're getting the slapstick comedy without the violence because it's all the effects that it's having instead, that's again a question of like, is the choice there because they can't show the violent imagery, or was there a decision made going, this will actually be funnier not showing it than showing it?
I see that going both ways.
Yeah.
Here, this was like a really enjoyable moment. Hugh Laurie.
Yes, just out of the blue, all of a sudden, hello, gents.
Hugh Laurie.
Very, very Hugh Laurie.
Oh my God, absolutely perfect. And like when him showing up, his little dialogue is like, "Oh, this is your house, huh? I swear this belonged to the Lenders. Good family." Like, just my God, dude, Hugh Laurie, why are you so damn perfect in literally everything you do? That doesn't make sense to me, but thank God you exist.
Yep.
Well, we cut to and we see Flora and little Tom on power lines cruising down and all that. I love that. Worst shot.
Every kid has imagined that in their life.
Absolutely. The worst example of effects in this, though, was that big bird.
It wasn't bad, though. It wasn't that bad. It was a tiny little... okay, fair. It was the worst. But that's the thing. I was like, that's a pretty high bar if that's the worst, because it wasn't that bad. It was
this movie. I'm not knocking this movie. And then you got they're trying to escape. Like I said, that bird trying to escape it down the pipe into the bottle,
right?
And then
the bottle was amazing, though. The way you see the image of him fall in there, and then the bottle spinning around like that. That was really well done compared to the bird, for sure.
So here's the thing: that bottle. Real bottle. They actually built one, made it of glass, everything like that, and they put like actual real the actor Tom Felton in this practical effect glass bottle. And
wow.
And they actually did fill it up with milk for him to swim in. Like he talks about the experience. He's like, it was kind of I didn't really like that, but it was kind of a neat experience, but I really didn't like that. Wow. Like, that was a real glass bottle that they built to that size, and they legitimately filled it with real milk for the actor to swim in to make it look that real.
Wow.
Serious.
The British be crazy, man.
Serious props to this movie. Like, the prop master, you are a master. Like, seriously.
Clearly.
But, again, Hugh Laurie showing up just to save the day again.
Right. And hello, gents. In the most innocuously... perfect way, where he just walks up, interrupts them from their evildoer shit, and is just like, yes, well, I popped down to the store and got you some cream for the burns on your face. Just, super nice, just, very formal. That air of authority where he's like, you're going to acknowledge me and take the cream or you're under arrest. But without actually saying it, though. It just very formal, just like, yes, well, look after yourself, gentlemen. Pop, and he's gone. And
loved it. I really did. Okay, so I had the question: did the milkman save the day? Hell no, he did not.
No.
And then we get another borrower, and this is where we get our first outie, which is weird because
Spiller.
Yeah, Spud Spiller, played by Raymond Picard, seemingly another retired actor.
Right, and boy, him I kind of get. I didn't like the way he's.
I didn't glum onto him like I did with Flora.
The way he swarthes in with that just sort of pseudo out of the box bad boy shit. Mm-hmm. He might as well have been wearing a leather jacket and a pompadour and saying, "How you doing, doll?" Like that was literally his character, except in a borrower costume. And look, I can kind of get why she went with him, because her brother's in trouble and she needs help. But the fact that she chose to literally start dating him at the end of the movie, I'm like, all right, you know what? You're a kid. I'll give you this, but you can do better.
Yeah, that was kind of one of those things. It's like they thought their world was really small and there weren't a lot of them. So I was like, okay. But then they just came from a concert where there were thousands of them. So, could have done a little bit different. But I did not feel any chemistry between those two.
No, it was a little odd. It felt a little forced, yes.
But yeah, and that's kind of a weird thing because when you're at that age, who don't you have chemistry with?
Yeah, that's a very good point, yeah.
Yeah, so I will agree with you. I can kind of see how that didn't happen. This dog, this dog floored me every time the dog was on screen. First off, John Goodman's reaction to the dog, when they opened the truck and That felt super genuine.
Right.
Like, it was like, oh my God, like all that, how, like how he responded to that. It's like, okay, that has been my response. Like there must, in my mind, I think there must have been a stink bomb or something in there that when they opened the door, it actually hit him.
Right, or they got an actual super farty dog. We're like, let's go real with this.
I could see it going both ways, because just like in last week's episode, we were talking Haley Joel Osment, and I think he actually tried chewing tobacco.
Oh, right, yeah.
How strong his reaction in there, and how strong Goodman's reaction was to an odor hitting him. This dog, though.
This dog. This poor dog.
If they actually did let this dog eat that much cheese, yes, this poor damn dog.
If they let that dog eat that much cheese, that dog is dead.
Very shortly after that day.
Yeah.
But I love this. The Mark Williams comes in. Do you smell little people? Oh, nope. Cheese. And he just leaves the dog. And I gotta say, there's something magical about Mark Williams. Like when he just like, do you smell little people? For some reason, that just warmed my heart. Like Mark Williams, he's got something about him, and he was the perfect man to play Weasley.
Mm-hmm. Truly.
Absolutely perfect.
Yes.
This was the moment, trying to get Tom Felton, Little Pea Green, out of that bottle. That was where the anxiety of the movie and the adventure and everything like that, it really sold. It really went well.
And there's multiple attempts that go wrong, and the pressure keeps getting built up, because it's not just that he's about to get filled with milk, but also suddenly John Goodman's there with a wrench just ready to smash all the bottles, and it's like, yeah, it's like it gets ratcheted up, and yeah, I was sitting there going like, holy, what are they gonna do? Like I was actually getting tense.
It hooked me in, and that's what I'm really loving about a lot of these older movies. They do that so much better than movies now do.
They really do,
You
yeah.
have an anticipation build-up scene, and it really sticks with you, and you're there. Now, everything is jump scares.
Yeah.
It has to come out of left field because people don't have the attention span to be in the scene for that long. So now we don't really have this in the way that we used to. And man, we should bring it back. Because it's good.
Yeah,
this type of tension
there's a craft to it.
Super healthy.
I contend that with especially in dialogue, that's what I find. You can, even if you've got good enough dialogue, then you can hold a person's attention in a long scene, a long build-up scene, if the dialogue is snappy enough. And I think part of it is that they are, especially with some of the newer movies, is that they're trying to pump these out so fast. They're not taking the time to refine their dialogue. They're basically just getting their story beats out and going. And that's why they have to quick cut everything so quickly, is because they're thinking, well, the audience isn't going to stick around for this. That's not true. If you put just a little more work into it, they absolutely will.
Yeah. I'm going to completely agree with you. This is just so Nickelodeon. I feel like this was just included in there. You know what I'm about to say, right? When Goodman gets slimed.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, Goodman gets slimed by
and you know what?
like the British nacho cheese, whatever you would call that.
Right, yeah. And I don't think that's a Nickelodeon thing. I think Nickelodeon co-opted that. Seeing people slimed, that's always been a thing. That's always been funny. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well,
especially I won't get that. I just figured because of the time and the time frame and everything like that, I thought that's what they were going for.
Which, interestingly enough, wow, what an odd coincidence. Maybe that was where it came from in my head. But that whole Nickelodeon concept of slamming people, that originated in the show I was just talking about, from You Can't Do That on Television.
Oh.
That was literally one of their running gags that was so popular, it just became a running gag on all of Nickelodeon.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where the three scenes, or the three moments in this movie that got Tom Felton to be Draco Malfoy, it was what you referenced with him being on the light in that comedic double take. Great physical comedy, great timing. He nailed that. Then cruising on the power line, going down, and the salty, sour face that he gave Flora in that was the Draco face.
Yep.
That was the only time that I saw Draco in this entire movie.
See, I caught a second one later on.
Oh, remind me. Then there was when they do wind up rescuing him from that milk. When he says, "I hate milk," how see? There's a thing. You can deliver that line and just be like, yeah. How he delivered that line made me laugh, made me love him, made me want to protect him. I'm like, oh my God, nailed it.
The first words out of his mouth at the beginning of the movie when his dad's looking at him and going like, "Come on, P. Green, it's a big day," and he's just sitting there going, "I hate big days." I'm like, oh, this kid's my guy. I'm following him for the movie. Like,
okay, I forgot about that. That was a good line. Yeah. That really was. I just seeing the dog ate all of the cheese just got me laughing. That was just like, I love my dogs.
I felt sick for the dog when I saw that.
Also, and then he has them all taped down for death by cheese and all this jazz, and then just the full rescue. Just a great moment. All of it, the score matched up, everything, it all came together for a great rescue scene. Then, the courthouse. Oh, go.
Before we jump over the courthouse, I want to talk about the very end of that rescue scene.
Yeah.
When the kid shows up, all right, and he's gotten them out of there, and the big kid gets his one glorious stunt where he grabs onto the pipe and moves it away and saves everybody, and then comes in and rips the tape off. He's like, "Are you all okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're great." First of all, we've all completely forgotten about Spiller at this point.
Yeah, they dropped him in there, and
he died 5 seconds ago, and we're not even going to think about it. We're immediately going to get to, by the way, kid, we can save the house if you catch up to him at the courthouse, They didn't explain shit to this kid. He doesn't know about the will. He doesn't know about the courthouse. He doesn't know the demolition crew's coming. This kid knows zero of what's going on because he's just been running around with the parents this whole time. He has no idea what's going on. And they go, "Get to the courthouse. We'll meet you there. We're going to save your house." And he goes, "Got it." And he's out the door. Like,
wait a minute. The kid doesn't know about the will?
No, he does not know about the will at this point. No one has had 5 seconds to tell him what's going on.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I missed that.
But he's on board. The tiny people told him, "We'll meet you at the courthouse," and he'll be like, "I'm there." And you know what? Honestly, here's the thing. I didn't have that much of a problem with it. Like, I thought it was funny at how quickly he agreed to it. But then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? When I was that age, me too. Yeah.
If I had just invested in on an adventure with tiny people, I'm going all the way.
Right. I just discovered yesterday that tiny people exist. I've been going through this whole thing all day with them. Yeah, you know what? I'm riding this wave. I don't give a shit what's going on, And just by a miracle, it turns out I get my house back at the end of the day. Fucking A, I made the right decision.
Yes. Okay, now, at the courthouse, Ruby Wax John Goodman coming in and wanting directions, and Ruby Wax, how she twists him around and all this.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was amazing.
Beautiful.
It was so good. It was so well crafted.
Fell in love with that woman in so quickly.
Seconds. She had me in seconds. And then the way that she ends it, where she's like, and then taking her teeth. I'm not going to lie. When I saw her do that, I spent like 5 minutes trying to separate my upper and lower part of my jaw to see if
you could even do that.
Yeah, I cannot do that. Ruby Wax, talent. That is something.
Yes.
Wow. And then, so she gives John Goodman, you got to go here, you got to do this, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this. Then you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and you got to keep it straight. And then, just perfect.
And then, of course, is there a quicker way?
Walk faster.
Walk quickly.
Perfect. And
loved it.
That was great. That was so great. Then the kid shows up.
And then,
how do I get here?
And he asks nicely, "Ma'am, may I, could you please direct me to the," and she's like, "Yeah, elevator, upstairs, can't miss it." And then even capping it off as he's running off, just goes, "What a nice young man." Like, God.
No, Ruby Wax, I wanted to see.
That's an Oscar-winning performance in 5 seconds right there.
I was looking for her, look through her credits going, why have I not seen more of this woman? Why was she not in Harry Potter? Literally, that woman. Why was that woman not a freaking witch or wizard in Harry Potter? That makes no sense to me.
Very good question.
No, she was great. Then the attack of the borrowers, and so many borrowers.
That almost started out like a horror movie. The way he was like walking through that storeroom and was like, "What's that noise? Who's there?" And then, you hear a little tinkle tinkle and crash over here. Like it was like, "Oh, we've got you now, motherfucker. Like you're on our territory now."
And I'm gonna give Broadbent this. That wasn't a bad speech.
No, it really wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was very lovely. It wasn't like super threat. Well, there was a pretty big threat right at the end of it. Like, God help whoever messes with us. It's like,
right.
Well, that's a death threat.
A little bit.
Okay.
Little bit.
Okay. We got a little bit higher there.
But it was mostly self-assurance. It was mostly like, we may be little, but that doesn't mean we are insignificant.
Yes.
We are quiet. We are resourceful. We are good at climbing. I loved that was like an added like bonus running gag on how often, like, of all the things going on with them, they emphasized we're good at climbing. Like the fact they really nailed that one.
Yeah.
That made it so much funnier, especially when John Goodman is saying it later on when he's just like, "No, yeah, little people, they're good at climbing." Like that just made it all so much funnier.
I'm completely agreeing with you. I'm all the way on board with that. Having the lock turn and how fast the borrowers disappeared.
I know.
I loved that. I mean,
for a half a second too. There was a moment there, like when the lock turns, the door opens, you see the kid and the exterminator there with Hugh Laurie. There was a half-second beat there where I thought, okay, they're busted, but of course they're not busted because that's not the kind of movie this is. So
did you think
maybe
Hugh
Laurie
was in on with the borrowers?
In on it? Yeah. Like in the same way that the exterminator, I've heard of borrowers before. Maybe Hugh Laurie as a cop is like, oh no, yeah, borrower law applies here, is what I thought was going to happen. But no, he opens the door and then we cut to the...
I would have loved that if like Hugh Laurie would have showed me like, well, by borrower statute of like, or something like that. I would have
the borrower treaty of 1745
exactly.
or something like that.
I would have that would have been my favorite ending that they possibly could have come up with this.
But this worked too.
It did.
The way the door opens and you see him and then it cuts to a perfectly empty room instead. Also good. I also laughed at that.
Yes. But like not just the empty room. They got rid of the trap that Goodman was on. They got rid of everything. Like how quickly they cleared that up. That was just comical.
Right. Yes.
The borrowers and the lenders living in harmony. Which again, borrowers, lenders. That was just funny. Like you just got to give it that.
Yep.
The very final ending. Did you see the post-credit scene?
When John Goodman's being interrogated by the cops?
Yes.
Yes.
That was... I enjoyed having it end like that, and where you were talking about like John Goodman basically going crazy and all this.
Yep.
But like how he went crazy, it wasn't like Looney Tunes. It was just... That was the most normal John Goodman was in the entire movie. Just, tiny people. Yeah, they walk. They go. Yeah. And they're good climbers.
No, yeah. It's like, no, yeah, no. Yep.
I really love that. So... I'm just going to go ahead and give my final thoughts on this. The Borrowers, such an enjoyable, wonderful, loving movie. So much wonderful adventure. I'm absolutely throwing this on the must-see list.
Yeah. Especially if you've got kids. This is a kids movie. Mm-hmm. This is a straight up kids movie, but it is difficult to find a kids movie. There are some quote unquote family movies, like Pixar is very good at making family movies that you can enjoy as a kid or as an adult. This movie is not a family movie. It is a kids movie, but as an adult, you are still perfectly able to enjoy it. Like it is not a like, oh God, this kid shit kind of kids movie. It is very well crafted, very lovingly made.
Innocent adventure movie. It's like I wouldn't even call it a kids movie. It's just innocent adventure.
Okay, yeah, I give it that. Like, sure, yeah.
Because like, shit, it's fun. All right. Did you have?
It was fun in every way.
Did you?
Even if you aren't a kid or have kids, if you are at all a John Goodman fan, you absolutely should see this because this is, in my opinion, his best role. King Ralph pending.
When you see him performing Good Golly Miss Molly and King Ralph, it's gonna floor you, dude. I'm just telling you, it's gonna flatten you.
Okay.
And I'm really looking forward to. I'm probably gonna watch that. I don't know, going to bed tonight or something like that, because we're talking about it so much, and I love that movie. It's not top 5, but it is top 15.
Okay. All right.
I'm not going to guarantee it, but it might be top 10. All right, and that's going to close up the...
Nope.
Oh.
I'm good. I said my piece. Sorry. I was just leaning in one direction for some weird reason. I wasn't looking to say something. Sorry.
All right, that's going to bring it close to The Borrowers, and up next is going to be The Sword of Trust. All right, and we're back. Part 2, and it is Sword of Trust. Written and directed...
Which I kept getting the title wrong. So I kept calling it Sword of Virtue, Sword of Truth. I had everything but the correct title, Sword of Trust. I have been talking about this movie for like 5 years now almost, and I have not gotten the title right once.
But at the same point, Sword of Truth would have made a lot more sense as a title.
It would have made sense. It would have made me think about that. Ever since then, I've been trying to sit in there and think about why trust. Why was of all the possibilities, why did they go with Sword of Trust? Is there some deeper sub meaning there that I'm just completely missing on?
If it is, I didn't see it either, and I didn't find it in the trivia. I looked up some information on the movie. I didn't find anything about why it was called the Sword of Trust. It should have been the Sword of Truth, because that really is what the whole movie is about.
Right, yeah.
Beyond that, written and directed by Lynn Shelton, who also played the character Deirdre in this film. Also written by Michael Patrick O'Brien, which I think we both agree on was probably the joke writer for this.
Probably, yeah.
Even though about 50% of the script was not written. It was improv and everything.
A lot
like
of it
that.
was improv,
that's
yeah.
what most of it was. So to have 2 writers on a script that is mostly improv seemed pretty weird to me. But is what it is.
Yeah.
This movie is starring Marc Maron, John Bass, Michaela Watkins, and Jillian Bell, with Dan Bakkedahl, Lynn Shelton, Robert Longstreet, and Al Elliott. There are a few others that are sprinkled through in there, but
This is a pretty tight cast movie, yeah.
Yes, that it definitely is.
This movie falls like I remember way back in the day when indie movies were a little bit more streamlined to get distribution. I remember hearing they would say a good rule of thumb is 4 to 8 actors and under $2 million, you guaranteed to get funding. This movie clearly was that.
Oh man, I gotta say. So, one thing on this, the U.S. and Canada box office, pretty damn abysmal. The global box office outside of the U.S. and Canada, take a guess.
50 million?
About $980.
Oh, ouch. Damn.
On the global scale, it didn't even break $1,000.
Well, one of those was me because I saw it in the theater.
That's kind of sad.
Well, that's the thing is, it was a lesser known movie. It's like the reason why. I mean, I'll tell the story. I'll give an abridged version of it. Is for me growing up as a kid, I'd always had the movie theater as my church mentality. And as the years have gone by, movie tickets get more expensive. Streaming becomes more of a thing. I started losing touch with that. And I also noticed that my tastes were narrowing. I was basically watching Marvel movies and nothing else, and maybe a few derivatives in that same vein. And so there was a point in my life where I thought to myself, I need to get back to that. And so I decided once a week, I was going to go to the local art house theater, not a Cineplex, a place that I knew was the art house, lesser known, cheaper indie movies, and just see what's playing and pick something and watch it like I used to do as a teenager. And the very first week that I actually did this, I show up and I see, oh shit, there's a movie starring Marc Maron playing. That's what I'm watching. And that was this. It was Sword of Trust. And so, yeah, this was not a movie that was marketed. This is not a movie that was in any mainstream theater. It was in a few art house theaters. There were no ads for it anywhere. I mean, the poster shows like one like Palme d'Or, kind of thing on it. I don't think it was showing in a lot of other, film festivals. This was something that kind of like for whatever was put into to make it, it just wasn't out there to be seen. It seemed like,
Well, I never heard of it until you brought it up. Why don't you go ahead? You want to give the synopsis?
The synopsis is, so what we have is we've got Marc Maron playing a pawn shop owner. And we kind of see right off the bat, he's kind of your average pawn shop owner. He's not an especially skeezy guy, but he's not an especially stand-up guy either. He is pretty average line of what you would expect of a pawn shop owner. And a couple, I can't remember the actresses' names. Basically, the two ladies on the poster there, they come in to sell
Michaela,
him.
Watkins, and Jillian Bell.
Thank you. Yes. They come in to sell him a Union cavalry sword from the Civil War. And it comes with documentation to suggest that this sword is evidence that the South won the Civil War. Which we find out is something that, her grandfather had died, left her this sword along with a long letter saying it was very important that this stay in the family, and telling the whole story of how it was the battle of,
attempting to tell the story,
right? Because the details keep getting scattered. It appears in the letter that the grandfather's mental decline is already, going. So the story doesn't even make sense. The details keep changing from one sentence to the other. And so they don't know what to make of it. But they decide to pretend as though they actually know and believe the story in an attempt to try to up the value of the sword. He offers them a paltry $400 for it because it is an authentic Civil War era Union sword, but they try to get it up to, $7,000, $8,000, something like that, because they're like, no, this is a piece of history that's been covered up. But they even dropped the word deep state. The deep state doesn't want us to know about this
shadow government,
and he's like, you two were nuts, get the hell out of here, and he realizes that they're faking it. They don't actually believe it.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But yes, so basically that is where we're at in this.
Right.
Two women inherit a sword. They think they're going to get a house, but what they do is they wind up with the sword. And
right, because the bank takes the house before the guy's even dead.
Right, because of a reverse mortgage, which...
Yeah. A little American commentary there.
Yeah, you got to kind of just toss a little bit in there, because that is a very realistic situation, and...
I'm sure happened to tons of people in the South.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, it happens everywhere. But yeah, I'm sure down in the South, especially with the loss of jobs and the low pay market, everything like that, you got to imagine a lot of those people at the end of their life, Social Security is not covering that.
Yeah,
so they have to take the reverse mortgages. And yeah, that is a situation a lot of people wind up in. So this opens right away on questioning what we all know, what we've been taught in school.
We start with a YouTube conspiracy video. Like the movie opens on a YouTube conspiracy video.
Which right away, as soon as that dude starts talking, he's a flat earther, he's anti-vax, he's all the conspiracies.
Which is hilarious because, and I'll get into this in a little bit, but what's funny is because in that video... Because this is the kid who's working for Marc Maron. We got the pawn shop owner, and we got the pawn shop owner's employee,
played by John Bass.
And he is just your quintessential dummy. He is just the dumb guy hanging out there throughout the whole movie. He's funny as hell. He really does bring a lot of the humor to the whole thing. But that's who he's just a dumb guy, and he's spending his time just sitting there watching YouTube conspiracy videos about flat Earth and anti-vax, and my favorite part is how the first one he opens up with, That guy's talking about Hollow Earth. He's
Right.
like, so let's talk about the Hollow Earth and this astronomer who discovered the Hollow Earth and the civilizations living inside the Hollow Earth. And this kid's eating it up. He's sitting there watching the video going like, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then later on in the movie, he's talking about Flat Earth.
And he's got the photos and like he's got his own diagram that he's
right. He's got a
created
model
for it.
that explains it. Yeah. And so it's like, that's who this kid is. This is a kid who somehow has found a way to believe in Hollow Earth and Flat Earth at the same time.
You asshole. I was going to bring that up later.
But it's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. How could
really
how could
shows
you
how
not?
much of an idiot he is because
Yes.
you logically cannot believe in both those things at the same time. No.
It's mind blowing, but it defines this character so well to just say that's who he is. This is a kid who is so dumb, gleefully dumb, I might add, that he believes in flat Earth.
This character is like the embodiment of ignorance is bliss.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, he is dumb as shit and he is so happy.
Exactly. Yep.
Like,
he's excited about every horrible thing that happens in this movie. He's delighted to be there for it.
Yeah. So, and as we're getting into this, like, so what were you talking about? The introduction on Marc Maron being the pawn shop owner in Hagelin.
Yeah.
And the dude that he's selling him a guitar and boots, he's like, "You're not screwing me, are you?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Yeah."
He's obviously.
You walked into a pawn shop. You're getting screwed. That's how that goes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, to anybody who doesn't know that, pawn shops are for when you are at your absolute worst. Like, you don't go to pawn shops unless you are doing very, very well and you are actually donating, or you're like a crackhead looking for a fix.
Yeah.
Which is Deirdre, and we meet her basically right after this.
Yep.
And go ahead.
That first exchange between Maron and Deirdre, like, man, what I love is that they don't tell you anything. Mm-hmm. You don't know shit about their history, who they are to each other, but you can feel all of it. You know it's there. You know it's intense. You know who they are to each other and how powerfully that is, even if you have not single one detail, because it is dripping in all of their body language and dialogue. It's like, man, Marc Maron, you're a comedian. You're not supposed to be that good of an actor, you fuck. How dare you?
Yet he nailed it.
Yeah.
Then we get Michaela, Watkins, and Jillian Bell showing up to the deceased family member's house. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where they get the sword. But this is that same time where you were talking about Deirdre showing up. Deirdre was played by Lynn Shelton, the writer and director of this project, who shortly after this project died of leukemia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this was her farewell project to herself. And okay. That's a pretty heavy thing. I gotta sing Marc Maron's praises to what he offered for this film. Mm-hmm. So the budget on this film it was practically non-existent. They didn't even have a budget for a composer, any music, anything like that. Most or almost all of the music in this movie is riffs from Marc Maron playing guitar at the end of his podcast, because this is how he signs off on his podcast.
Right, that's right.
He plays that guitar. So almost all of the music and what he does is he records all of the samples that he does at the end of every show. So he has hundreds of them. So as a favor to Lynn Shelton, he gave her complete access to his library and let her choose whatever she wanted for this film.
Wow. So you're thinking like she got her diagnosis, literally made this movie as knowing this was going to be her last thing, and Maron was just like, literally, because we've been working together, you've directed my specials, we're friends, so I'm just gonna give you everything you need to make this happen, regardless of whether I think it's going to be in theaters or anything like that. I agree. I think you're right. That's because that sounds like Maron.
I don't see anything else that actually makes sense to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
like
yeah.
That like I'm gonna give Marc Maron just like top tier that is some gentleman just way to put the craft before yourself. Like,
absolutely, 100%.
yeah, I like you could, because if you have that, you can demand money for it. You could do all that. You could do whatever you want. You could anything.
Yeah.
And he just didn't.
No, yeah.
Like, he just gave her the access because he just wanted her to have the film she was trying to make, and I gotta give him a lot of props for that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't know that before I watched this movie. That would have made it way too emotional for me. Like it would have taken me out of the movie itself.
It's gonna hit you the next time you watch it.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah. I didn't know that until after I watched it, and that really makes me look at the Deirdre character in a different light.
100%, yeah.
Like, that character was nothing but regret, and that felt like, yeah, that was a little emotional. I got it. Like, it's still kind of hitting me thinking about it. Back into it.
Yeah.
The whole uh-oh moment, no one's going to get the house. And I got to give this, the woman who played the lawyer, I forgot to look up her name, she sold that awkward, nervous energy about, oh my God, how are these people going to react to them finding out they're not going to get the house? Like,
she was good. She was very good.
She was very good.
I especially liked also, like, when she gets to the part where you're not getting the house, but you do get this sword, she's had that sword on her lap the entire conversation, just lifts it up and hands it to them as though, like, this was my plan. Like, her character planned out that presentation. Congratulations, you get a sword.
Yeah, like it was the thing everybody in the family was competing over or something like that. Like,
right, yeah.
Yeah, no, I felt that too, and she's like, well, okay, so here's the thing. Like, when she does pull that sword and she does present that sword to them,
yeah,
you know, she actually does kind of remember it fondly. Like, you know, he would come out on holidays with it and all these things. So because I wasn't 100% sure what this movie was about going in, I was like, okay, was he a serial killer? And like this letter is going to be a list of all the people he killed with this thing? Like, what are we...
the cavalry sword?
I didn't know.
That also would have been a good movie. Let's get this to the pawn shop quick before someone pins us with it.
Yeah, let's get rid of the evidence now. That's where I thought we were going. It definitely was not where we went. But you know, I gave it a little bit of that. She did remember it, but Michaela, though, when the woman is leaving, or like the lawyer is leaving, and they're like, "We appreciate it." Like, we appreciate it, right?
They were a great couple. That's the thing. That's what I loved about these two.
I didn't key in on them until they told the kid that until they were in the van. I did not key in on that.
Really?
Yeah, I thought I didn't. I was just seeing two friends. I did not catch the romance.
They literally kissed at the very beginning of the movie when they first walk into the house. They kissed.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I didn't feel that chemistry with them.
That's why it was so funny when the kid later on, after they leave the second time, that kid's like, I think she likes me, and Maron's like, you're reading that wrong, like, because he knows right off the bat. He's like, dude, they were a couple. Like, how stupid can you be? Like, that's why that joke was there.
Okay, I get that, but also that dude was so dopey and completely missing the mark, and like, don't touch that. I can't touch the tag.
Don't touch the tag.
Like, no, okay, that actually, I was laughing the whole way through that.
That was a good bit. Yep. The two of them did have good comedic chemistry as actors. Yeah.
No, those two together. What is it? John Bass and Jillian.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they were. Yeah.
They were like dumb. It was like a mini version of Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. No, just awkward and dumb. It was like they were a great, like every time they were together, it was great. So the pawn shop owner, Mel, he checks the sword, but only $400 for it. Then they're like, oh, it's because he doesn't know the story. Let's give him the story. He has time for the story. And like all this shit, like they're really building it up. and then they completely tank it, which how often they just completely continued tanking the story, and they never, throughout the entire movie, even when Marc Maron's like, we need to get our story straight, they never get their story straight. They never even try to. Like, he even emphasizes, I didn't know you guys were full of shit. Like,
yeah.
Like, all that. So, I'm glad they kept it in because it was funny, but it didn't make any sense. But it was funny, so I got to give it that. This is where they're going into the, like, deep state and shadow government. Like, they're trying to use, like, all the hot words and the keywords and everything like that to kick it off.
Because they know they're in Alabama.
But they also don't know what any of this shit means. So they're like, it was, like, watching them do that was great. Then, like, they leave with the offer, and this was a moment I really, really enjoyed. When they leave, she's like, no, he says this, then you come back with this, and then this. And then Jillian tries to turn around like she's going to continue haggling, even though it's already done. That, because she's like, oh, wait, do we still do it? No, like, how well she played awkward was so perfect.
Oh, I know. Oh, she was great. She was amazing.
She really was. Then they go to, like, check the internet, and they go and find out what Marc Maron calls it, the antique roadshow for racists.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
The provers and the Invicticus or something like that. I can't remember what, like, tortured Greek reference word they tried to go with to pretend to be a secret society of truthers or something like that.
Creating something. But I will say this. The director actually did, she researched a bunch of these, like, conspiracy theory things for the Civil War and all that, and she made up one of her own, but she made it identical to all the other ones.
Right, yeah. So, it's definitely a thing out there for sure, yes.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. But and I love it when they even say that it's like we are offering rewards for artifacts that prove this up to $50,000, and immediately Maron's just like, let's get that goddamn sword and take these motherfuckers for all they're worth. Like, yes.
Yep. That was where the movie began, right?
Yes.
There. But that was the moment. That was Robert Longstreet, the guy who was on that video. Like,
okay.
I think, like, him, like, Marc Maron definitely is the name for this movie, but I'm telling you, man. But Robert Longstreet is the perfect choice to play a truther. Like, he just does. His voice, his appearance, the gruffled look, everything like that, but specifically that man's voice. Love it. Oh, I love it. So, like, so when they come back in, Michaela's coming back in like she is just an arming pro.
Right.
Like, she's here to haggle. She's ready to go. She's got it.
She walked in, let me do all the talking, and then she did all the talking.
And she got her 50-50.
Yep.
But my favorite part of that scene was when they were, like, taking a picture of the sword and everything like that to send to the guy. And then they're like, should we take a picture together now? And he's like, what are we doing? Right. And just Marc Maron saying, what are we doing? I'm like, oh, man, that is a me moment right there. Yeah. All over it. Like, come on, guys,
and that's really one of the things that truly makes this movie is that how just there are these just weirdly random moments where it seems like everything was like a secondhand thought that, they went, let's just leave it in. Like it would have been edited out of any other movie, but they're like, fuck it, leave it in. It's funny,
Yeah. Then we get our introduction to Jimmy, and he's coming in kind of like asking for sympathy for Deirdre and all this. Kind of like what we find out later. It seems like Jimmy knows a little bit more about the history.
He seems to be pretty clued in on them, and maybe he hasn't quite walked away from Deirdre yet, but he knows the history, and he's maybe feeling a little bad for her that, like, because
what we find out is the character Deirdre left New York City to come down to Alabama because she loved Mel,
right?
And she wanted to be with him, and so she left.
And they were in love once upon a time,
Still are,
yeah.
Only what Mel says is he won't tell her that he's still in love with her.
Right.
But you got to imagine the pain. When somebody loves you, you know it.
Yep.
Like, and you gotta imagine the pain that Deirdre feels showing up to somebody that she can tell still loves her, and there's just no repairing that.
Right.
I do understand this as a director's final film.
Mm-hmm.
I really am starting to like that is like I really do get that. Then we get the appraiser. Now this creepy dude, Joss.
Man, what a character! What a performance! What a perfect casting choice for this character and performance.
I would
My
have
God.
shot him a little bit different. I'm not gonna lie, I would have shot him a little different, but I didn't have any problems with his performance. I like this. Are you the guy? And this is creepy appraiser's like, yeah, I'm the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the
But then-
guy. You
but
the
then
guy?
You really get that sense of like that down south old history kind of like, is it your family? Is it her family? Is it her blood?
Right.
It's her blood, so she can speak.
Right.
It's like that's where you start like really getting that blood of the country type thing in there, and just subtle, no explanation on it. But if you keyed in on it, you keyed in on it, and that's I do like that kind of storytelling. And he's like, well, it's her blood. Well, then she can tell the story. And then, oh my God, no, she cannot.
And you got her wife trying to like mime things behind the guy, and she's
And the
not
pain
reading them.
on Marc Maron's face as he's watching her do this.
Yeah,
And then the fact that Joss is like, all right, we'll be in touch. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, no, that's a serial
Yeah.
killer. No. No, if he didn't run away from that story, that man's got way worse issues than what we're discussing here.
right. Yeah, and he's like, "Why didn't you guys tell me you were full of shit?"
Oh, I love that. As soon as yes, absolutely. It's like, what? That was a great line. That really was. And just, oh man. And then just trying to get on the same page with them, and then literally nobody, none of these four people believe the story, but they're still trying to huck the thing as though they do, and they're still trying to like pitch it off. However, nobody can sell the story, and that's what just makes it even better.
Yeah. Yep.
And I like that. Like we'll keep the sword of the story. It's like, well, how are you going to keep it safe? I have a safe.
Right.
And then immediately those two boys show up. Like, you got the prover item. It's like the prover item, and it took me a second to key in on what the hell they were talking about. I'm like, what the hell is a prover item?
Right. Yeah.
And then
the guy-
like it only took a couple seconds, and I'm like, oh. Proof.
Like a truther. Yeah, it's
Right.
prover, it's truther, it's all
Yeah.
like they all have that code, it's got to be
Okay, so did you key in on the racism on this? Cuz I didn't key in on the racism until like at the very end.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, cuz he says East Coast and twitches his nose at the same time.
See, I
That
was
is
thinking cocaine or something. I
Yeah,
did not
no.
key in on racism at all.
No, yeah, the big nose East Coaster, that is 100% Southern racist code for Jew. 100%. Yeah.
Nothing. Not one part of me keyed in on that at all until and I felt like an idiot because as soon as they're leaving and they're talking about Jewish, he's like, "Yeah, that's what I thought you meant." And I was like,
Right. Yeah, and Maron's reaction too. He's like, "Look, you Jew," and he's like, "I knew it."
That's
Like,
what I thought, that's what I thought. You meant. Yeah. No, that Marc Maron's performance on that was completely
that whole
perfect.
and the build up too, where he's like, because he even does it too. He's like, "East Coast, huh? East Coast. What do you mean by that?" And they're like, like New York and Virginia, and they just start listing off East Coast states and cities, that little, and some Florida, and he's like, okay, you guys are a lot more educated than I expected.
Okay, yeah, that I did get a kick out of that one too. But literally, I don't know why. My brain did not key in on that in any way. So now we get to that point where the transport is coming to take them to the boss. And it's just the El Camino. There's a one seat. And then you have like the one like Michaela being like, "Oh no, it's my husband," and father, he's been sober, and my father passed
That
away in
whole
heaven.
spiel, yeah, that was
Oh man, I was cringing
brilliant.
so hard.
Yeah,
I was
and just
cringing
like
so
one
hard.
after another new thing, and the whole and Marc Maron's standing next to her trying to keep up. Like, yeah, what? Okay, yeah, what?
And Josh just like, yeah, I'll be back. Y'all just stand out here in the hot ass sun.
Right.
I was like, okay. Josh was growing on me as it was going.
Yep.
Everybody getting in the van and the pickup follows. So this was the moment. I didn't realize that they were a couple until they literally said we're a couple, and I'm like, okay, see, and this is what we were talking about in the Skeleton Key, like. You saw them as a couple because in today or in more recent era, they would have been.
Right.
And like women are not friends anymore in film. Like you either have women who are catty and they are just all the way against each other, or they're
Right.
gay. Like
Right.
that is like we are in a weird freaking place of extremes.
No, it's true. Yeah.
Like, and that's what I was watching this innocent as shit. I was just seeing everybody as friends. I didn't see anything at all. A piece of me was rooting for the dumbass to meet somebody who would get him to stop being a dumbass. But that was not where the story was going at all.
No.
So,
Well, and I'll tell you, we were talking before. This scene in the truck is a great example.
oh,
we were talking-
by the way, real quick, just before you get into this, what the script says for that is they just get to know each other. That was the note for the.
So that
that's what the script
entire
said.
scene was improvised.
Yes.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's wow.
But I don't know how much of Deirdre's story could have been improvised. So I don't know how much of that.
They must have had like workshopped backgrounds and stuff like that, so they would know ahead of time what to talk about. But the actual filming of it is when it comes out. Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that.
But like
They've got
like those two like telling like the two women telling the story of how they met and all that completely off the fly, made up improv right on the spot.
right. Yeah.
Which it kind of made sense to do it that way because if you're telling that story, you have two ways to go about it. Either neither of you can agree on how it happened,
right.
or you have the story perfectly in lockstep. This actually worked.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
give
and
that
that just
credit.
that throws me off because I was about to say this was an example of what I was talking about before about the tension building in a long scene. How if people just made an effort to do better writing, they could hold their attention for the longer scenes. This was a great example in my mind because this is a long ass scene. They are in the
was a
back of that
very
truck
long scene.
for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
But it is a very, really good scene because you get all of the characters' backstory. You get Deirdre's backstory. Now you are invested in these characters. It's entertaining to watch. At no point are you sitting there going like, shit, how long is this drive? Like you are listening to everything everyone says because it is such well performed and well written dialogue, except now you're telling me it wasn't fucking written.
Yep. And that's why I was really surprised, like because that was a good scene. Nobody faltered. It was a very well balanced scene.
Yep.
So it does seem like it was well written and crafted. But what they did is, and the way that they would go about it, is they just went on and on and on. And then
They probably
Lynn Shelton, they just cut what they wanted.
Yeah,
from the
they
scene.
probably spent a whole day just in the back of that truck and
I
then
have
cut
no
together.
doubt.
Yeah, and then cut together all the best parts to put it. Which, even just that in of itself, that's Herculean. Especially if you're going to take that a whole day's worth of improv and somehow splice it together into a linear dialogue. Fuck me. But this one came out so well.
Which
so
I gotta
well.
say, my favorite moment of that, set aside from Deirdre's backstory, was the two sides of the mom coin.
Yes, yeah. and even when you throw in dumbass's comment like the two of you together make one good mom, like
Knowing that was
Genius.
completely off the cuff, I'm so happy with that.
Oh, I know, yeah.
That was great.
And especially,
And her dream is to open an escape room. Having the whole thing be like
I was gonna say from that line, like that's the moment where I sit there and go like, okay, I know at no point in this movie do we ever hear where this couple is from, but with that where she goes, my dream is to manage an escape room. That's when you're like, oh, they're from Portland. This is a lesbian couple from Portland. My dream is to manage an escape room. That is the most Portland thing I've ever heard anyone say.
We referenced this earlier, getting back into the sort of trust. We referenced this earlier about where Jillian asks Marc Maron, have you told her you love her? Mm-hmm. Because she's just watching him tell the story, and she's seeing the love and everything that's wearing on him, and she sees it, and she calls it out immediately.
Yep.
And no. Just no.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And that is indie filmmaking right there.
Yep.
Because, like, indie films, they tell the truth.
Yep.
That is a very true thing. That is something that's very real. You have so much pain and everything like that if you're worried that if you say a word, it might tumble the wall that you have built down to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that is very real. That is the kind of thing that you go to independent films to see.
Yep.
I really enjoyed that. I really loved that.
So now we arrive at the boss's place.
Now we have, and I forgot to bring this up, but they've been followed by those two boys all the way from Alabama.
Right. Yep.
Which now they're in Tennessee, and they show up.
Which I did appreciate that they hung a hat on the fact that they were in that truck for so long. Was it when they got out? They literally went, "What state are we in?" Like, obviously we are somewhere because we were driving for so long.
Which Joss's reaction is like, the country, like yeah, but well, you see, we got the city where y'all from, we got the country, which where we at. Like he basically everything he said cracked me up.
Yep.
And then when the two boys come around, he's still got the little screwdriver and all that. And I loved Marc Maron's response to this. Number one, wait a minute, I recognize you guys. And he tells a story about when he came in with his dad and all this. And he hit you so hard that you started crying. And he's like, why'd you take after the shitty one?
That was so out of all, he's sitting there telling, he's giving these guys the what for, and all of a sudden he's like, wait a second, I know you. You were a kid, you used to come to my store, and then I knew your dad, and I knew your mom, and they just he's just dressing down these two guys, and then and just caps it off with, so why'd you take after the shitty one? Your mom was nice.
100%.
Fuck.
What a line.
What a line. Holy shit. What a gut punch of a line. Who takes
after the good one? Nobody.
Yeah. No.
That is the tragic history of something that just keeps happening over and over and over again. Nobody breaks the cycle and actually becomes the good one. They all become the bad one and go, I was treated this way, and I learned it from watching you and all this crap.
Yeah.
Which not paying that line off, but having that line be delivered, that is a beautiful message in a film.
Oh, yeah, it was great. It's phenomenal.
It was very, very great.
And just that silence that fell between all the characters there to witness that heaviness when they all they're not even scared of him anymore. Now they just feel sorry for the guy. He still has the screwdriver. He's still threatening them, but they aren't scared of him anymore. Now they're just sad.
Yeah, but now we know why the women didn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was, and that more comedy gold just out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah. But I will say John Bass's best moment in the entire film was when they shut the door on him after pulling the gun, and he's just in the truck humming.
Yeah,
that was the best. That was I don't use this word very often. That was brilliant.
Right. Yeah.
And by the way, the reason I don't use that is because I'm not from England. And in America, brilliant actually means brilliant.
Okay.
When you're over in England, brilliant means cool. No. Here, that does not mean that. But I remember I was slamming that one person for like calling everything brilliant. I'm like, no, it's not. You're just really dumb. But if you throw the connotation of people using brilliant as cool and everything like that,
Right.
you got to give a little more leeway to it. And I felt like a little bit of a dick with that one. But the best moment, so I will say the "Why'd you take after the shitty one" is the most heartfelt line in that. But the best moment from that is after like he throws the screwdriver on the ground and Maron goes and picks it up because he thinks it's his. He's like,
Right.
"Oh, that's awkward. This isn't mine."
Right. He hands the other guy. Was like, that's wow. Sorry.
I really like that was great. Sitting in sitting with the boss in his office, and then just telling that unbelievably awkward, unrehearsed story.
Still can't get the story right.
Of the van for how many hours, and they didn't practice the story once. Come on. Kind of realistic, but see, the thing is, that is realistic depending on who you are. Mel being in the back of the van, I don't believe that it would have gone that way. I believe Mel would have like practiced it and everything like that because he was the one. He's like, we need to get our shit together. I didn't know you guys didn't know this.
Yeah.
If Mel wasn't in there, completely would believe that is how that would have gone.
I mean, but they did show that they were talking about other things. So, you know, but also it's like, but what's best about it too is that you have the two, you know, essentially we have four characters here, you know, two couples, one smart and kind of an asshole, one dumb and just really happy. They're both kind of mirror images of each other in that regard. You get the two smart.
We forgot to mention that the lesbian couple thought that they were a gay couple.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, just wanted to toss that in there.
Which is just, yeah, because they see the mirror and they're like, oh yes, that's how it is. Yes. But yeah, so you have the two supposedly of each of these couple. You have the smart one of both couples together to tell the story to the boss man, and they're fucking the story up even more. Like now the story is like so far off the mark. And they were suffering from typhoid and chlamydia. Like they're doing a worse job than when the dumb girl was, you know, was doing bad mimes and stuff like that. Like she got the story better than the two of them working together.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, but when they went in that, and then the ghost story.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just bouncing back between the two scenes, you got old racism and like all these stories from like the Civil War, and they're trying to like pass off as Typhoid Mary and Chlamydia Carl, and then you got over to ghost story time and the awkwardness and the wild out of the box thinking. Just like you got to think outside of the box.
Right? Yeah.
You got to go outside norms. Like
you shouldn't you shouldn't just
flat. Which, oh my God, like the boys have a moment exactly like this. Okay, then so back into this, and we were talking about the awkwardness of the out of box thinking.
Right,
and he picks up his phone to like show the pictures and the homemade diagram that he did on the flat Earth.
Which is, it's like he's gone this far. He's made his own model of the flat Earth. Like, wow, we did not know how far this guy went.
The fact that people actually have put those things together and it works in their brains and it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
These poor souls.
Well, not to mention when you look at it, his model is missing a continent on it.
Oh, I didn't even look. It was?
Yes.
What
Europe isn't there. He's got North America, South America, and Africa. There's no Europe on it.
Science.
I suppose you believe you believe whatever they tell you, you know, like how Europe exists.
You know, I do. I don't. I mean, my plane landed there, but you know what? That was obviously a soundstage in, you know, Van Nuys.
Right.
Clearly.
Yeah. And that's great too, because with the chick, I'm forgetting characters' names and actors' names, but the two dummies, the guy and the girl, and yes, Jillian. He's trying to tell her, he's like, the Earth is flat, right? And it's like she's already been established as the kind of not bright one of her couple, but even her right off the bat, she's like, no, the world is round. Like, no, what you're saying is nonsense. Like, even she can see he's full of shit.
Too far. Yeah, that's where it's too far. Then we cut back inside to the boss giving the talk and like that, and then he's like, cut real with me. Mm-hmm. Do you believe this? And
right.
Both answers are given, and that is the exact right way to do that.
Right. She says,
to the
she's
story.
Like, yeah, yes, of course. And he's all, no,
I don't believe this. No. I just want to get out of here. I don't want to die. Like, just,
you're right.
Come on.
I don't want to go to the toy room.
Right, the toy room. Oh, we forgot to mention that. Yeah, no. So they show up to this farm, and the boss is like, well, if we have any trouble, we'll take him down to the toy room and have some playtime. And it's like, oh, this is okay. So this is like some Pulp Fiction type stuff. Okay, right. All right. I see where we're going with this. And then this part. So when he admits, like, I don't really believe this either. I saw an opportunity for money. I have the money. I can buy them.
Right.
Wait a generation, and all of a sudden this. I'm paying $40,000 for it. Next generation is going to be worth $1 million. Like,
well, no, that's not what he's saying. He's saying he's going to get rid of it. Like he
wants to collect it.
He wants to collect it and hide it, is what he's saying. He's saying
the next generation, though. I thought.
No. He was hoping that would make it fade away.
Because he said that if you like this generation learns about it and all this, and then like it becomes legend.
Right, yeah. He was talking about how these things happen in the first place. He's like, I don't understand why people believe this. Because they make up stories and then they keep passing it down and it becomes legend. He's literally saying he actually says he's trying to make it stop. He's trying to basically from the inside get these people to stop pretending the South won the war by collecting and hiding all of these so-called artifacts that they think prove it. That was his.
I took it a way different way. I thought he was using it as like a weird investment type thing.
Yeah,
like he's helping build the legend. He's like bringing the collection together so people can't find this stuff, and then he has the one. So when he goes to sell it, it'd be worth way more because it was more legendary.
Yeah, no, that's not how I got it. That's not how I got it. I got it that he was literally trying to chisel away at it by hiding the stuff away, so eventually the whole conspiracy would be forgotten. That's what I took from it. I'm
rooting for his character a little bit more now.
Yeah, I think that was the idea: is that we're kind of quickly supposed to like go, oh, this guy's all right. He's not actually a bad guy. He's just playing this in the same way they went. Oh, let's get this sword and take these guys all for their worth. He's the same way. He's just like, nah, I know these people are idiots. I'm just trying to get rid of it. Because I have the money, I can afford to make this stuff go away. I'm making it go away. So basically, in the single scene, it's like
altruistic.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, even when she comes in later, they're saying like, oh no, he's cool. It's because the audience is supposed to be on his side too. That, oh yeah, no, he's cool. He's like us. He knows this is all crazy too. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I love this moment. So when Joss comes back in, he's like, I knew it. You're not one of us.
Right.
All stuff. And then like she brings the sword up and like chops it down and just dings. Like, ow, man, it's dull, but it hurt. Like that.
Right.
I was laughing pretty damn hard on that one.
That was a great scene. Yep.
Yeah. And then like we get the double cross, and Joss is like making everybody dance. He makes the boss dance like a donkey, and the boss starts making the donkey sounds. This was a funny scene. This was a good moment.
Right.
But my favorite line from Jillian in this entire movie was when she comes in. Like, so you got the one dude knocking on the window and distracts him, and she comes in with a gun. The way that she says, "Stop, motherfucker!"
She's trying so hard to be intimidating.
The way like, she said that killed me. I was dying over here, man.
Oh, and I loved that moment too. Like after the whole thing, and like and then her wife is like, you did great, baby. You did perfect. You were so scary. You really get like the way she was like, I did it right. Yeah, I got it. I came in and I saved the day. She's like, yeah, you saved the day. I'm so proud of you. Like that was such
a random line about, yeah, she used to be in the Israeli army. It's like, huh?
Where the hell did that come from out of nowhere? Yeah.
All right. Okay. I guess we're doing this now. And then, oh my God, and then all the way, $40,000 on the table. Take your money. Give me the sword. She won't give up the sword. And everything on Marc Maron's face was everything that I was feeling. I was just like, dude, give him the sword. Give him the sword. Just
yep. Like we have literally been through hell and back for this.
I watched this whole movie just so you could get there and deliver the sword. You give him that damn sword. And no. And then
but it was an interesting thing
right.
where she explained she starts telling the story. She was like, and then not even stories about the sword, just about her grandfather, about her happy memories with her grandfather, and how like because they took the house and everything, this sword is all she's got left of him, and she's got all the and she's like, it's all I have left of my grandpa, and it like by the end of it, like even though it's like you said. It's like the whole time she's like, I don't want to give it up. You're just like, God damn it, bitch, give him the sword, $40,000, so much, back of the truck, the whole thing. Like we've been through so much for this. Give him the damn sword. But then by the time she's done explaining, she was like, and then, he would sing me to sleep at night. And she gives that whole speech and she's like, and this is it. This is all I've got. This is my granddad's sword. Like even then, like her delivery on that is so good. You're just like, God, like you again, and Marc Maron again is the audience in this one because he's standing there going, God damn it, here's your money back. Like,
yeah. How did they get back?
They took the truck. He gave him the keys to the truck that they drove there in.
Okay, all right. That I was just wondering about that. But you're right with the altruism from the boss guy because he says, keep the sword safe and from nefarious purposes.
Yeah, promise me you won't let anyone use it for nefarious purposes, yeah. Basically saying, I will let you keep it as long as you promise that it doesn't end up in the hands of one of these assholes that works for me.
Yeah, okay. So, I guess, you're right. I'm wrong. And then, on the way back, passing... Oh, yeah, that's right. They were in the truck, obviously. He's passing...
Yeah.
So they pass Deirdre's car, and then Marc
broken
Maron
down
decides
side
to
of the
fix
road.
it.
Yeah,
like he pulls over, gets it, decides to fix it. Which did he just hotwire the car? Like
we don't
keys for that one. Like that one.
Did he call a tow truck or something? Like, and we don't know what was wrong with it, what it cost him, but he put it forward. And and I thought that was interesting about the ending is that we see him go through the motion of fixing the car. And even goes to Deirdre's house, or he knocks on the door. Huh?
Doesn't knock.
Yeah, just leaves a note, says, and then he walks away, and we don't see anything. We don't know how much it cost him. Yeah. He did the thing.
Very independent film ending, and those.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't like about independent films. Like they don't have an ending.
They don't never fucking end.
Well, here's the thing: writing is an intense challenge. Coming up with an ending, having everything make sense, having an actual ending, is a tough thing to do. And when you make a movie and just decide not to have an ending, that never doesn't bother me.
I'm not 100% sure it's not an ending because here, like, think about it this way: because what it is like everything he said in the truck is true. Is like. They have a history. He loves her. Mm-hmm. But because he's basically a recovering addict and she is an not at all recovering addict, she's still an addict, they can't be together. He cannot trust her. He cannot trust himself around her. Getting involved with her at all is basically the same as committing suicide for him. But something about that whole event that just took place with the sword and all the guns getting pointed at him and the guy giving the sword back and saying, oh yeah, no, I know this is bullshit even though I'm paying to collect them, that whole experience that gave him some sort of like even without getting his payday, he didn't get his half of the 40 grand. He still went, I guess she deserves at least a little benefit of the doubt. I will go ahead and pay to fix her car. I'm not going to ask her to hawk the ring, or any of that.
A little bit different. So when he actually saw that her car was broken down, that was the thing, because he didn't, because at the beginning of the movie, I thought she was looking for a fix, and she was trying to do all that. She needed some things. Her car broke down. She was just looking for sympathy, and I thought it was your regular standard crackhead thing, just making up a bunch of stuff, trying to get illicit sympathy. But when he saw that the car actually was broken down, and he actually saw her on break from work, she has a job, her car actually did break down. Like throughout the course of the movie, he saw that she was telling the truth. So that's where I thought that he was making that step.
I suppose that's possible, but that's the thing is I don't think it was a step that he was going for like a rebuild. I think that's the why he leaves the note and walks away, is because the heartbreak is still there, but now he is willing to help. And I think that's kind of like, that's where the maturity for him, like now he figured out a way where he could help her without having to put himself in that position to be heartbroken. And
which is like, I see the two lines I see the two lines where you can kind of like view that. However, to me that's a bad message, because it's like, oh, well, okay, I've learned my lesson. I'm going to be your enabler again.
Well, I think
that's
maybe
a really weird way to end the movie.
I suppose, yeah. But I think that's, again, like, and this is a problem with indie movies. This is a thing that happens a lot. We say indie movies don't end, and it's not that they don't end. It's that they try to do as open of an end. Yeah. They try to do an open ending in which everyone's going to read something different into it and maybe argue about it. And it'll be largely dependent. If you have ever or are currently in that kind of relationship, you are going to see your own current reality in that ending. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to read into, and so it's like, okay, yeah, I read into it as like, okay, he did that and he walked away because he didn't want to deal with it. I'm still like, let's be honest. My marriage is what I'm seeing in there when, just going like, look, I'm here to pick up the kids. I don't want to hear about your day because that's just going to fuck me up. Let's kids in the car. Let's go, and that's what I saw there in what he was doing, because that's where I was when I saw watching the movie. So, okay. And I think that's intentional. I think that's probably why there's no dialogue, no quote unquote resolution to it, is because they want you to see you in that moment, how, and kind of like put yourself into it.
No, I do know there are plenty of movies that do that, and I do agree that a lot of movies do that with that as a goal. Mm. I don't like it.
Okay, all right.
Because like, I'm not going. That's a move. Like, I'm not going to a movie to treat it as a coloring book. I am going to a movie. You crafted something. You put your time, you put your energy, you put your thought, you put all this, and you did something, and other people funded it with millions of dollars of their money. I'm going to see a finished product that has a message. I want to see the message. I want to see how well the message was delivered. I want to see all these things. I don't want to treat a movie like a coloring book. I don't want it to be like, I think it's this, so it's this. It's like, no. How well did they deliver the intended message that they actually set out for? That, to me, is the mark of a truly amazing film. Okay. But I mean, a lot of people don't like independent films, and a lot of people do. And I feel like that's... And this is just my end on that spectrum. I like independent films, but I do not like it when they do that. Okay. It just feels like, look how smart I am. It's like, nah, dude, look how dumb you are. You couldn't come up with an ending. Like, and for something like that, though, that is a tough one, though, because when you with those two, with knowing now what the history of Mel and Deirdre are, can you really think of any actual ending that would have been satisfying for them two? No, honestly, no, not after learning what I know about the director, Lynn Shelton. Like, learning about what she was going through, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that this was like she had the diagnosis before.
Yeah.
Like,
This was a farewell note, basically. Yeah.
It's because it makes sense on how well of a farewell note it is.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I understand her ending. I really do. I'm not knocking the ending, everything like that. I do understand that character's ending because it's a very open-ended thing.
Right.
And this is a little real. If your life is coming to a close, it does make sense that you would not want to close your character's story. I can see that.
Sure. Yeah.
That just in and of itself, I can understand why she personally would make that decision.
Yeah.
But as the entertainment industry as a whole, I just don't like it. Tell me your story. Don't make me tell your story to me. Don't do that. That's not what I like about stories. I don't like, well, what do you think happened? It's like, bitch, that's poetry. Okay? You see where I'm coming from.
No, I do. I get it. Yeah.
All right. But then my actual final really big bothersome, the thing that I hated about the end of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Way to fucking leave the groceries that you just bought this woman out to spoil in the fucking summer heat in Alabama. You got fresh eggs there, man. You got like 10 minutes before they go bad out in that heat. All right.
Okay. All right.
But that was it.
Let's be... Maron's from L.A. He doesn't know about weather. Give him a break.
Oh, man. Okay. You want to give your final thoughts on it?
Final thoughts on this movie. I think I enjoyed this movie more the second time. I don't know how much one should know going into this, because like everything is explained, so much is out of left field. But then again, 90% of the enjoyment of this movie is the characters, So really knowing the story or not probably doesn't make a shit, because it's really all about the characters and the performances.
Yeah, it really is. The actual story on this one is completely inconsequential, because it's just honestly how awkward everybody is with each other is very entertaining to watch.
Yeah. While also at the same time, weirdly, how real they are. Like, we've been sitting here talking about Mel and Deirdre through this whole movie, when they're like, it's weird because they're basically a C story, but we've been talking about them like they're the A story because of how deeply Marc Maron, in his character, talks about Deirdre and their whole thing. Mm-hmm. And because it's such and that one scene that they're together where you can see their whole history right there, even though neither of them are dropping any exposition whatsoever. You're just like, oh God, what's this? Mm-hmm. It is a study in acting. It is a study in comedy. For such a low budget indie nothing film, it is a weirdly beautiful, dumb piece of art that, yeah, I mean, I would say if you are at all studying filmmaking, this is a must-see. It's tough to say if it's a must-see for anybody else, because there is a lot of very, eye of the beholder of this kind of thing. Like, you kind of would have to be of a certain taste to really be into this movie. But if you are studying filmmaking, this is a remarkable example of different approaches to storytelling and the simplicity of things being so deep,
Okay.
But yeah, I loved it. I loved it when I first saw it. I loved it even more the second time I saw it. I'll probably gonna save it in my library and watch it again and again.
Well,
I don't know if this is going to be seen as many times.
Now that you know what you know about Lynn Shelton.
Oh, it becomes so much more precious now, knowing that. Like, this isn't just a work of art. This was someone's
farewell letter.
Yeah, this was shit. I'm trying to remember now. The Japanese have a word for it. There literally is a genre word for the last poem a poet writes right before he dies. They literally have. There's a word for it in Japanese, and I can't remember what it is, but that's what this movie is. This movie is that very specific thing. But yeah, no, this is a great flick, and yeah, I'm really glad that I discovered it by accident, and I'm gonna make it a permanent part of my library. We'll see if it gets watched as many times as the paper does, but
It's not gonna. I can already call that one. It won't, but I can see it getting a few.
Yeah.
Sword of Trust. I'm not going to put it as a must-see because there's really nothing about it that you must see. However, in no way is this a bad film. In no way is this a poor film. There's no bad acting. It's shot relatively well. Actually, it is shot well. Not a bunch of creativity behind the scenes because they couldn't afford the fancy camera work and things like that. But the story itself is a very good story. What I could see myself absolutely treasuring this as a book. Like if I sat down to read this, like if this were a book, I could put this as I would probably put this as one of my favorite books.
Interesting.
But because of the way it's shot and certain things just didn't quite land on me. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I probably will go back and watch it again. So I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I'm not saying anything like that. I just don't think it's a must-see because like I said, I can't pick any one thing in this that you must see. Unless you do discover Lynn Shelton and you do want to watch her final artwork. That is where, and if you want to see somebody, a director, a writer, giving a love letter and as the character and playing the character as that, I do think that there is an immense amount of heart in this project.
For sure.
You can feel it all the way through. So I highly recommend it. I just don't think I can call it a must-see.
Okay. Right. You know what? Honestly, that was more than what I expected. Because
I was going to like it?
I was 50-50 on it. Because that's the thing is, like, I know... Because this was one of my art house movies, and I've kind of, I realized that it's a taste thing when it comes to that stuff. And it is. Yeah, and I had not seen it since the first time I saw it in the theater, going in blind, surprised by everything. I didn't know how much of my appreciation for it was just basically surprise and shock of things. So yeah, there was a part of me that was wondering if I was worried that this was going to be another Existence. I'm gonna be honest, there was a part of me that was still kind of a little. Huh? Yeah, I was a little worried. You get sensitive to that after that. But
are you kidding me? Why do you think Boat Trip was the last movie I ever recommended when I was in Portland?
Right. Yes. There you go.
I knew I burned that bridge.
Yeah. Exactly. I know that feeling. Yes. So, but I did feel better once I did watch it again, and I did remember everything that I loved about it for the second time with all that chemistry and all the, and yeah, so.
I am seeing a little bit of a theme though. Comedians doing indie films.
Comedians doing indie films is its own genre.
It is. We got Mike Birbiglia, who wrote and directed, or did he direct or did he just write?
He did direct it, yes.
Okay. Wrote and direct Don't Think Twice, and we got Maron, who just starred in Sword of Trust.
Yep.
But now I'm a little bit curious because she was directing his comedy specials, so I'm a little bit, because that is two very different skill sets.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, where did they first meet up professionally, do you think? Do you think they just paired up for one comedy special and then just stuck together for a while? Or do you think they worked together on something else?
I think they probably worked together on something else because, I mean, There is like, yeah, you nailed my first special. Do you want to film my second one or anything like that?
Right.
But like they did multiple specials together, a couple different movies together. She directed Hump Day and Your Sister's Sister, a couple different ones. I don't know if Marc Maron was in either of those.
No, I don't think he was. I remember hearing about Hump Day. I never saw it, but I remember hearing about it.
No, I have no idea.
Hmm.
No.
You never even heard of it?
No, never even heard of it. I think Hump Day. I think that Mike, the camel. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What day is it? What day is it? Hump Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you're going to like. Just the discussions that we went through over this movie, talking about Lynn Shelton. I can't imagine you wouldn't like posthumously give her that respect. You know.
Yeah.
Like you are that kind of person. I do see that.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, so that's going to bring a close to this week's episode of Heist, Sword of Trust, and The Borrowers. Go ahead, drop a comment, and let us know which one you think was your favorite, or would be. Wait a minute, no. Go ahead and drop a comment. God damn it.
How would you compare these two? That's cruel.
Fuck. All right. All right, that's going to bring a close to this week's episode, The Borrowers and Sword of Trust. Go ahead and drop a comment and let us know which one you preferred. Other than that, we'll see you next week.